So good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Good to be here. Thanks for joining us on this fabulous fall day. So I have been charged with the task of leading us on an experience of deep listening. So, are you all ready to go deep? Yes, the question is, how deep? All right. So, full disclosure, I really just brought some things, and I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go with this today, but I have been finding lately, as I do these types of things, that it's less about the theoretical blah, blah, blah of me talking, and more about letting you have an experience of what it is I would be talking about. So that's my intention and invitation for you for today. So I hope you're all ready to sing and listen and have some fun with this experience. We had 3 different titles going into this, and I wasn't sure which one I was supposed to or wanted to. So anyway, I'm trying to figure out how can I do all 3. Deep listening is a thing that I love exploring, and I do that regularly as a musician and as a sound person. The sound of spirituality was a little harder because I was thinking, well, what is the sound of spirituality? And how do you define spirituality? And blah, blah. And I think what it comes to for me is there's a quote that I'm going to not remember verbatim, but it's basically that God speaks to us through silence, and everything else is poor translation. And so for me, the idea of deep listening and sacred sound is sound or song that brings us out of the head and into the heart, right? A sound that takes us from our day-to-day and opens us up to the greater part of who we are. And music and sound, in my experience, is an incredibly powerful, predictable, and beautiful way to do all of those things. And so what I wanted to do today is just sort of share with you some of the ways that sound and song can be used to achieve that type of a goal, if you will. So what I would like to start with is to warm us all up and to get some energy flowing in this room. So when we think of spirituality, through many, many cultures and many spiritual traditions, music and sound is pretty much found in all of them. And one of the things that we can go back to, given where we live, is Native American culture and any sort of ancient earth-based culture. And so I'd like to begin by having us sort of center. I'm going to play my drum here, and we'll do a little bit of call and response. I'm going to sing a line, and if you could repeat it back to me, and we'll just go back and forth for a little bit. And the invitation here is really to try to not think so much about what you're singing, but actually just feel what it is we're singing, okay? And the louder, the better. I am one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. I am one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. You got it. I am one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. The one great heart that beats for all creation. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. are one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. Good and loud. We are one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. We are one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. We are one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. Hey, yada, hey, yada, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya. Hey, yada, hey, yada, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya. Hey, yada, hey, yada, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya. Hey, yada, hey, yada, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya. I am one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. I am one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. I am one with the one great heart that beats for all creation. So sacred sound also includes language and poetry, I think. So I wanted to share, as part of this process, some readings. These particular readings come from a text called the Radiance Sutras, which are from the Hindu Vedic tradition. Close the ears that track the outer world. Open the ears of the soul. Hear the song of creation, sustaining, enlivening. It is thrumming in your body, whispering secrets. Listen. So there's a practice that I like to share, and it's this idea of listening. So when we talk about deep listening, there's a number of ways that we can use sound, and there's a number of practices that we use to engage that deep listening. One of the first that I'll invite you to join me in is just simply noticing the sound around us. So what we'll do is we'll just focus our attention on the ambient sound around us and see if you can identify and pinpoint what any of those sounds might be. And as we pay attention to that, one of the other things that we begin to notice when we are able to listen deeply is the sound of our own breath, right? And the sound of the breath and our breathing in general are two key ways that we can access deeper spirituality, if you will. So I'd like to invite you to take just 60 seconds, and you don't have to change your breath, but really try and focus on the sound of your inhale and the sound of your exhale, and just notice the qualities of those sounds. And sometimes there's a thing where you can even plug your ears, if that helps. But you can plug your ears and notice the sound created by the inhale and the exhale. Most of us know that paying attention to and modifying our breathing techniques are great skills and tools for relaxation. And there's many practices and many traditions where they use specific breath techniques. Yoga is one tradition where they actually call it pranayama, and there's a number of different breathing techniques that people use to quiet the mind and open the heart. But let's explore this idea. We'll stick with the yogis for a moment. In yoga, there is a sort of a space of yoga called nada yoga, and nada means sound. And some of the practices in that type of realm go around this idea of external sound and internal sound, okay? So the external sound is what we were just focusing on. It's sound waves that actually engage with our ears and our eardrums, creating a physical vibration that our brain then translates. But there's also internal sound, which we'll work our way into. And one of the interesting experiments you can do is trying to find that point where the external flips to the internal, okay? And one method that we can do that is I'm going to ring this bell, which I'll put up to the microphone so hopefully you can hear it. Actually, I'll take it off of this. And the idea is we're going to follow the sound of this bell into silence. So see how long you can keep your attention focused on the sound of this bell, and notice if your mind wanders off, and if it does, you can bring it back. But see if you can discern for you, when does the physical sound of this bell stop and the internal sound of your mind creating the sound of the bell begin, okay? So we'll give this a try. So I'm curious, anybody want to share, like, what was that experience like? What did you notice as you paid attention, or were you even able to stick with it to the end? I know my mind took off and started thinking about what to say next, but anybody have anything interesting happen? Anything that you noticed? Yeah.
I just noticed that the sound of the ring has a rhythm, its own rhythm to it. But it's not like one even sound. It's like, and I just kept that going, even though at some point I'm like, okay, am I hearing it now or not? But
Yeah.
I can keep that rhythm going.
And so there's two things that brings up. The first is the fact that there's even when the sound stops, when we're focusing, there tends to be this residue of sound, and that's like, is it actually this, or is it my mind that's creating it? So that's that internal, external. The other thing that you brought up that I'll just touch on real quickly is you notice it was sort of going, wah, 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 wah. You notice that, right? So many of these sacred instruments, whether it's bells, gongs, singing bowls, all these things, they create these beat frequencies. And in modern science, they call it binaural beats. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. But what it does is it tends to, yes. Vibrato, exactly, right? And so the idea is that the reason these types of instruments are used for meditation so much is that our brain entrains with those frequencies. And when you study brain waves, we're normally operating at a higher frequency. And then as our brain waves slow down, we become more and more relaxed. And eventually, deep sleep has the slowest brain wave activity. But meditators that use sound will use instruments like this because that wah, 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 wah was probably somewhere in the delta theta frequency, which slows the brain activity down, which allows us to drop in deeper. So if you've got any cool toys like that, I encourage you to play with them and notice how that happens, because that is a thing, that the ancient meditators from way back used that as a way to begin and end meditation, also to drop the brain into that more relaxed frequencies. All right. I feel like it's show and tell here. So I actually did an event last night up in Portland, and it was a gathering of people, and we did a kirtan practice. And I know we did a kirtan here a while ago. Anybody not familiar with what kirtan is? Yeah, okay. So kirtan is a form of bhakti yoga, and bhakti yoga is devotional yoga. And it's basically people coming together to sing and chant the names of the divine. And again, a lot of it for me with sacred sound and spirituality is the ability to sort of drop into what we might call an altered state or a trance state. And a lot of that comes from repetition. Drumming is a great trance inducer, right? Because you're just holding a groove together, whether it's the Native American drum, and shamans use that as a beat, again, to entrain the brainwave frequencies. And this kirtan practice is a way that you repeat these mantras, right, which come from Sanskrit traditionally. But mantras are very similar to affirmations in a lot of ways. And the story with this is that mantras are a way to help us, again, still the mind chatter. So here we are now, we're thinking about internal sound. And we could do the experiment where I'd stop talking and you just notice any internal sounds. But we all know that the primary internal sound is our internal dialogue, right? The mind's chattering away all the time. And there's an analogy that's used a lot, is like the mind, the surface of the mind is like the surface of the ocean or a windy lake, and there's waves that are all choppy, and that's our normal mind going, bleh, right? And what we want is down deep, because once you get below the surface, it's very still and calm and quiet. And that's where our inner divinity is, and that's how we access that, is we have to get past the choppiness. And so the idea with mantra practice is we take these sets of words, and now in Sanskrit, they're very intentional words, and they represent certain frequencies and different things depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But the idea is that you introduce this mantra into your mind, either by singing it out loud or thinking it to yourself, and you do it over and over. And eventually what happens is all those choppy waves get overrun by this one consistent wave that you're saying over and over, Om Shanti Om Shanti Om, Hare Krishna, whatever it is that you want to say, our mother, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, the mind chatter subsides, and the mantra, the affirmation, becomes the primary thing that we're paying attention to. Now, to access the real stillness, we have to let go of the mantra as well. But these mantras are a tool to help us bridge that gap in a way. And so what I thought I would do is actually share this experience with you a little bit. Probably the most key mantra people are aware of is the mantra Om, O-M-A-U-M. You know, you chant Om. How many people have chanted Om before? There you go, right? Okay. So Om is the sound of creation. Basically, it's the sound that all other sound comes from. This is what it represents. And so when we chant this mantra Om, Om, and you synchronize it with your breath and you elongate it, the idea is that we're tuning in to the vibration of creation. And so rather than just talk about it, let's do it. I brought my trusty harmonium here. So I've done events where we sit around, we just chant Om for an hour straight. And it's hard to explain what happens, but it is amazingly powerful and transformative, because there's a point where the mind just kind of gives up, and then you're in this vibration, this sort of ocean of Om, if you will. So let's just, you can't do it right, you can't do it wrong. Actually, it's all right. And we'll just chant Om for a minute or two. So what I invite you to do is just to close your eyes, and we're just going to synchronize your breath. You don't have to follow me, but you're just going to take a nice deep inhale, and as you exhale, we're just going to make the sound Om. So I'll start, and you can join in as you feel comfortable. So one of the interesting things you notice, hopefully, is that after you do that, when you stop, there's this space, there's this silence for just a moment before the mind begins to kick in again. And when we're talking about kirtan and these types of singing mantra practices, it's hopefully, I felt it, hopefully you felt it like you just, you know, it's just, there's space. There's a little bit more silence. And that, to me, is what sound and music are good for when we're talking about spiritual practice. All right. Any questions or comments so far? Okay. Let me read you another stanza from the Radiance Sutras. Every sensation is a current of divinity, sparkling with mystery and composed of omnipresence. The senses connecting us to the outer world are paths of communion with the inner world. Every sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch is a greeting from the beloved. So the idea with that is that all of our senses are a means for us to reconnect with our spiritual self, with our spiritual nature, if we pay attention to them and utilize them in the correct way. One of the things for me is, music has this great gift of allowing us to feel a certain way, right? We know that music can impact how we feel and our moods and things of that nature. And sometimes there's nothing better than some pure joy to lighten up your day, and music is a fantastic tool for that. So what I want to do is, I want to do two things here, and then we'll wrap up, and be happy to talk more afterwards if you have questions or comments or insights. Speaking of mantra, there's ways that we engage the senses to access our spirituality. So singing is one thing. When we actually sing, we're hearing the external sound, we're vibrating on the internal sound, right? You can actually feel it in your body when you're singing, when you're chanting Om, right? You can feel it vibrating in your body. And what I'm going to introduce you to now is there's another mantra, which is Sa Ta Na Ma. And there's actually a hand mudra, they call it a mudra, where you go Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. And I'm going to invite you to do that with me. And this is another way for us to engage the mind with our senses, which takes our mind off of the nonsense that it's usually thinking about, right? So what I'm going to ask you to do is we'll do this Satanama mantra for a moment, and then I have a song that I wrote around it. So if you can keep the Satanama going, I'll sing along with that as we get it going. So why don't you get comfortable, and we'll start together. You can take an inhale. And I will tell you that Satanama means birth, life, death, rebirth. So as we're chanting this mantra, we're contemplating birth, life, death, and rebirth, okay? So, Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. 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 So keep that going. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Here we are, here and now, riding on this wheel of life that's turning round and round. First we live, and then we die, and dying is just living, turning to the other side. Sa, ta, na, things will come things will go. Some things will soon pass away, and other things will grow. So while we're here and now, let's all sing together as we celebrate this miracle of Sata Nama Sata Nama Sata Nama Sata Nama Satanama 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 In the actual practice of that, if you were doing it by yourself, you would start out by saying it out loud, sa, ta, na, ma, and do that for 2 minutes, and then you would turn it into a whisper, sa, ta, na, ma. And then after that, you would say it silently to yourself. And then you would come back to the whisper, sa, ta, na, ma, and then you would say it out loud. So it's this whole thing of going from the gross sound to the internal sound, right? So there's a practice that engages voice, mantra, mudra, and keeps the mind occupied, which can work sometimes. Nice. All right. So I'm just going to end here. I mean, this whole topic is vast and large, and I know little slivers of it here and there from my own direct experience. But music is a beautiful thing, so I'm going to share with you this song and invite you to sing along. And music is like a journey. When you play it, you never quite know where it's going to go and how it's going to feel. So this is a song that I did last night, and I'm just feeling really attached to it, so I thought I would share it with you all. I'm calling on all the angels in the sky. And I'm calling on sweet Mother Earth. And I'm calling on God divine. Yes, I'm calling on all the masters of every faith. I'm calling on all the angels in the sky. And I'm calling on sweet Mother Earth. I'm calling on God divine, singing Om Namo Gurudev Namo. This is a mantra to the wisdom within us all. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Yes, I'm calling on love divine. Yes, I'm calling, I'm calling, I'm calling, I'm calling, I'm calling on love divine. We're calling, we're calling, I'm calling, I'm calling, I'm calling on love divine. Yeah, I'm calling, I'm calling, I'm calling, I'm calling, I'm calling on love divine. Yeah, we're calling, we're calling, we're calling, we're calling, we're calling on love divine. We're coming home. Sing that. Yes, we are. We're coming home. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home to your heart. Welcome home. Welcome So thank you for your enthusiastic participation. That was awesome. This room sounds amazing. So it's another plus. And yeah, I encourage you to take time, especially on a day like today, to go out and just sit and listen, right? Deep listening is really about awareness and concentration. And it's so interesting to find what the mind pays attention to. You know, hearing and listening are two different things. So, you know, we're hearing sound all the time, but what is it we're paying attention and listening to? So that can make a profound impact in our life experience. So thank you all, and look forward to chatting with you after in the other room.